You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Hello, sports fans! Welcome to another edition of the Jacob Valk Show. I am the Jacob Valk, and you're not. I've got to start with Bengals Bears. No, I'm not starting with Chiefs Ravens. It was a great game last night, no question about it. It was everything that you hoped that game would be. But where's the story there? What's the story? Lamar Jackson's great? We know Lamar Jackson's great. Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumbled? Yeah, Edwards-Helaire isn't great. Mahomes threw an interception in September? Oh my god, he's a bust. Trade him to the Jets. There's no story with that game. If the story is the Chiefs lost, it's hard to go undefeated. No one ever went 19-0. What are the chances of someone going 20-0? No, the correct game to start with is Bengals-Bears. An incredibly topsy-turvy game. It was a game that made me actually feel good as a Jets fan because while Zach Wilson threw interceptions in his first two passes of the game, Burrow threw 3 straight interceptions, one of which went for a pick 6. I mean, we know that Joe Burrow is a really, really good quarterback. If he can have a game like that, it gives me hope for Wilson going forward. But the real story is what happened with the Bears. Andy Dalton played the first 28 or so minutes of the game. Then he was knocked out by a knee injury. We don't know exactly what that knee injury is, but we got to see Justin Fields in extended action. So this is it. We've all wanted to see Fields play. Matt Nagy's gotten a lot of heat for it, keeping Fields on the sidelines for Dalton. Let's see what Fields can do. He didn't look that good. He completed less than 50% of his passes for just 60 yards. He had an interception. He fumbled the ball on a run, but the Bears were able to jump on the loose ball. Say what you want about Andy Dalton, but Dalton looked good. He completed 9 of his 11 passes for 56 yards and a touchdown. Yeah, he was safer with the football than Justin Fields is going to be. Yeah, they're different quarterbacks. Fields is going to take chances. Dalton's going to be safe with it. You know that. See, this is the thing with Bears fans and Niners fans and Texans fans. Fans of teams with rookie quarterbacks and underwhelming incumbents. You gotta think of it like this. You're a kid on Christmas. You see that big present under the tree with your name on it. You run to open it, and then you play with that nonstop. Well, wait a minute, you still have this toy that you loved from September to November that's still really good. And you know what you're going to get from it. It's safe to play with. It's going to put you in a good place. This new toy may break. You don't know. Maybe it's defective. But maybe it's great. There's no way that anyone watching Bengals-Bears yesterday objectively would be able to say that Justin Fields was better than Andy Dalton. You want to tell me that Fields will look better when he has a full week of practice with the number ones and he's not forced to come in mid-game? Okay, I'll give you that, but the injury scenario is the only way that he was really going to get in for an extended period. Unless Dalton just laid an epic egg. Which I guess is possible, but let's be honest, it was always more likely that you'd get in via an injury. You've got to be ready, okay? Next man up. Football's a violent game. You never know when an injury is going to happen. And once your number gets called, you've got to be ready to produce. What's the Eminem song? If you have one shot, one opportunity, will you make the most of it or will you fumble it away? I know I butchered those lyrics, but the point is, the sentiment's true. Once you get that chance, it doesn't matter how you get it, you've got to do something with it, and Fields didn't. All this heat that Matt Nagy is getting for not starting Fields, don't look now, but the Bears are guaranteed to be tied for first place in the NFC North. I understand that we're only 2 weeks into the season, okay? A million things can happen. I get that. But what would you rather be right now? A Bears fan or a Vikings fan? Yeah, you'd rather be a Bears fan. The hate that Nagy gets is just ridiculous to me. I like Nagy. I'll tell you right now. If Matt Nagy was to be fired as Bears head coach, I want him on the Jets. Fire Mike LaFleur and bring in Matt Nagy. Give me a coach that's made the playoffs 2 of the last 3 seasons and led Mitchell Trubisky to a Pro Bowl appearance. The reality is, Justin Fields will start when he's good and ready. Nagy knows that Dalton isn't his quarterback of the future. The Bears gave up a lot to move up 9 spots to get Fields. In 3 years, who's going to be the starting quarterback for the Bears? Andy Dalton or Justin Fields? The answer is Justin Fields. And I think Fields is going to be a great player in this league. But you've got to let him marinate. You've got to let him develop. Take a look at the 3 rookie quarterbacks that started week 1. Trevor Lawrence has not looked great. Zach Wilson just threw 4 interceptions. Fine, Mac Jones looks solid, but you know what? He's producing in an offense that a 2-year-old could produce in. He's not being asked to do a lot. He's asked to throw short passes. There are quarterbacks out there right now waiting for a call from an NFL team that could produce in that offense. The Patriots have their training wheels on for Jones. The Jaguars don't. The Jets don't. So you want to tell me you want a dumbed down offense for Justin Fields? No, you don't. Because when Tua had a dumbed-down offense, he got criticized. There were people calling him a bust. You've got to let it develop with Fields. You can't throw him out there in the deep end without a life preserver. Give him time to marinate and develop. The Bears are doing the right thing by him. And again, if the Bears make the stupid decision to fire Matt Nagy, I'm completely serious about this. Bring Nagy in to the Jets. You want to tell me you want LaFleur as the offensive coordinator because you like the Shanahan system? I disagree with that, but fine. I'll run with you on it. In all fairness, if Matt Nagy is going to go to the Jets, they're not firing Mike LaFleur. Robert Saleh and LaFleur get along very well. They're really good friends. Yeah, it's not going to happen. But Nagy could become quarterback's coach. You move Rob Calabrese to running backs coach and fire Taylor Embry. I'm fine with that. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Moving on now to Rams-Colts. Just an absolutely disastrous game for the Colts. Seriously, everything that could go wrong in that game went wrong. Think about it. The first drive of the game, you get 1st and goal at the 1. Jonathan Taylor gets stuffed 3 straight times. Then Carson Wentz gets stuffed on 4th and goal. Your defense gives up a 90-yard drive. You're in great position to take the lead in the second quarter. You've got 1st and goal. You design this weird shovel pass play that, of course, got intercepted because Carson Wentz isn't going to make that play. I don't understand the need to get cute like that. Who do you think your quarterback is? Brett Favre? After that, you give up a 16-play drive. It results in a field goal. I mean, granted, the Rams tried to give the game back to you. Early in the 4th quarter, something happens that I don't think I've ever seen before. The Rams are punting from their own end zone, but Johnny Hekker has a cannon for a leg, so you feel not great, but okay-ish. Like, okay, we'll be able to flip field position, we'll be fine. It could be worse. Matt Orzech snaps the ball. It hits the punt protector, Nick Scott. And the Colts' Ashton Doolin recovers the loose ball in the end zone for a Colts touchdown. Now, here's what's funny about that play. If you watch it, Scott slides behind Orzech just as he's about to snap the ball. Scott slides behind him literally just as Orzech is about to snap that ball. It hits off Scott. And then if you watch the play, this is the best part. Scott starts running downfield. The ball hit off him, and he was content to just run down the field like nothing happened. How do you not stop and reverse course? What are you doing, my guy? That's one of the funniest moments I've ever seen. So the Colts took the lead on that. Then 4 plays later, the Rams got the lead back. Sonny Michel did some work. Darrell Henderson had to leave, so Michel came in. It'll be interesting to see if Michel gets some work now. Like, I'm not the biggest Darrell Henderson fan in the world, so I could see a scenario where Michel gets a sizable percentage of the touches. Then this is the killer. Carson Wentz has to leave because of an injury. Jacob Eason comes in. He's got to lead a 2-minute drill. His second pass, it gets picked off by Jalen Ramsey. So the Rams narrowly win. I will say this, through the first 3 quarters or so, I felt good about Rams minus 3.5. Of course, they only win by a field goal. I'm 0 for 6 to start out the year on my picks. You have no idea how much that ticks me off. All the ripping I get for that is deserved. But I feel like the Colts are in trouble. Because realize, Wentz started the season coming off a big injury. Like, we weren't sure if he was going to play in week 1. He played, and he played well. But now he's hurt again. See, this is what drives you nuts about Carson Wentz. Wentz has the MVP caliber season in 2017. He would have won MVP if he didn't get hurt. Then 2018, he gets hurt again. 2019, he doesn't get hurt. He plays well. 2020, he's inept. He gets benched for Jalen Hurts, who is not good, by the way. Alright, people are going to throw out that big pass to Quez Watkins as evidence that Hurts is good. No, he's not. If you take that pass out of the equation, Hurts threw for less than 100 yards. People say that he can be Lamar Jackson. He'll never be Lamar Jackson. The Eagles only scored 11 points yesterday. They had every opportunity to win, and they didn't. But back to Wentz. He goes to the Colts. He's reunited with Frank Reich. Now, Wentz is banged up again. I'm excited to see what Jacob Eason can do. I do think he'll play well. It wouldn't even surprise me if the Colts said, you know what, we don't trust Wentz. Eason, it's your time. How can you trust Wentz? Part of being an NFL quarterback is staying healthy. The reality is you need to play every game. I'm okay if you don't play every snap. Garbage time, crazy sets that only a really athletic quarterback can play in. And if you're not that guy, okay. But what are the chances that Carson Wentz plays 17 games this year? What are the chances that he even plays in more games than he played in last year? Realize, he played in just 12 games. So he missed a quarter of the season. That's basically a month that he didn't play in. He got benched. Okay, I get that health wasn't the issue last year for Wentz. It was performance. But what are the chances that because of Wentz's health, he ends up playing in less games than he played in because of subpar performance? I'd say pretty high. I'm selling Wentz stock at this point. And I'm buying Jacob Eason stock. The fact that he couldn't produce in the 2-minute drill, yeah, that's tough. But that's also an incredibly difficult spot to put a quarterback in for his first NFL action. Against a great Rams defense to boot. Now you look ahead to next week, the Colts play the Titans in Tennessee. The Titans defense has not gotten off to a good start this year. They've allowed at least 30 points in both of their games. I'll be excited to see what Eason can do. Moving on now to Bills Dolphins. The absolute drubbing by Buffalo on Miami. You want to tell me that drubbing was because Tua got hurt? He had to get carted off with a rib injury? Okay, that accounts for the shutout. But what about the 35 points? And the thing is, it wasn't even like Josh Allen was that great. He barely completed 50% of his passes. He threw for under 200 yards. He was solid, don't get me wrong, but it's amazing how much the Tua injury just deflated that whole Dolphins team. You got the sense that after that, they just felt like they were dead to the world. And I understand that that's human nature. You lose your starting quarterback, what chance do you have? I get that, but Jacoby Brissett is not a bad backup quarterback by any stretch. In 2019, when he started 15 games for the Colts, he completed just under 61% of his passes for just under 3,000 yards. He threw 18 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. He also had 4 rushing touchdowns. And you saw him have a few touchdowns last year during the Philip Rivers year. So, don't tell me that Brissett can't play. The reality is, I feel like that loss is more on the coaching staff. You've got to be able to rally the troops. Yes, we just saw our franchise quarterback get carted off, but we've still got a game to play. We can't worry about him now. We all feel bad for him. There's no question. Let's say a prayer for him. Then let's win us a football game. It's the home opener. We're going up against the Bills team that looked really bad last week against the Steelers. We can still do this. But that whole team, including the coaches, Brian Flores, George Godsey, Eric Studesville, and Josh Boyer, all folded like cheap suits. I saw a little bit of Adam Gase in there. Just in the sense of things are going south for us. We're not going to be able to come back from this. We've just got to keel over and die. Get out of this week and focus on next week. The thing is, though, that's not going to work because you have the Raiders. You're in Vegas, and Derek Carr, through 2 weeks, looks like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. It was a good win for the Bills. It should give them some confidence going forward. But I'm more concerned about the Dolphins. I like Tua. I think he can turn into something. But I think it's fair to wonder if he'll ever turn into something in Miami. I just don't think the coaching staff is there to support him. And I said that last year. I was skeptical about Brian Flores. I didn't like the starting him, then benching him, then starting him again. I didn't like this two offensive coordinators setup. I'm skeptical of Tua's future in Miami. Alright, now I'll give you some college football Valk talk. I'm not going to preview Packers-Lions. There's no point. We've only seen one game of each team. It's really not fair to do it, so let's focus on the big games from college football on Saturday. I'll start with WVU upsetting Virginia Tech 27-21. Don't let the score fool you. Virginia Tech never really had much of a chance in this game. They were up 27-7 at one point. I understand that at the end of the third quarter, Raheem Blackshear had a little bit of a back-breaking touchdown. Okay, it's 27-14. And the WVU offense, in all fairness, really fizzled out in the second half. They only had one field goal. That was all the points they got in the second half. But, hey, you storm out to that big a lead in the first half. That's okay. Like, I didn't understand the boos that I was hearing from the Mountaineer faithful. Okay, you want to tell me that you gave up a late fourth quarter touchdown that made it a 6-point game? You let Virginia Tech back into the game? I get that. And look, Jarrett Doge did throw a killer interception. It gave the Hokies 1st and 10 at the Mountaineers' 17. But the defense just stood on its head. The WVU defense I thought was really good. Guys like Akeem Mesidor, Jackie Matthews, and Taj Alston, I thought played really well. Okay, maybe WVU made it a little more exciting than they should have. But I thought they made the Virginia Tech offense look inept. I was not impressed with Raheem Blackshear. Braxton Burmeister, the quarterback, was solid, but he was nothing great. This was a really good win for the Mountaineers. Get excited about it. Moving on now to MSU destroying Miami of Florida. And when I say destroying, I mean destroying. When you're a ranked team, it's one thing to be down headed into the fourth quarter. It's not great. I understand that you're home, but MSU's a really underrated team. They should be ranked. They're undefeated. I really like what they have going on. But it's another thing to get outscored 21-3 in the fourth quarter. It almost looked like you were watching two different teams. You saw the Hurricanes team from the first to the third quarters. They're playing solid football. They've got a chance of winning this game. Then in the fourth quarter, they brought in a bunch of guys named Mo. I mean, the U just looked inept in that fourth quarter. They couldn't stop Peyton Thorne to save their lives. And again, I really like Thorne. I like this MSU team. I'm not saying that they're gonna make the CFP, but it wouldn't stun me if they played in a New Year's Six Bowl. That's how good this MSU team is. But this was a game that Miami had every opportunity of winning. They just couldn't do it. They just couldn't shut the door. You let Thorne go off for 4 touchdowns. You let Kenneth Walker have 27 carries for 172 yards. You let Jalen Naylor catch 2 touchdown passes. The thing that really confused me, though, about the U was how pass-heavy they were. Look, D'Eriq King is a decent quarterback. I don't want to knock him too much, but no one's going to mistake him for Vinny Testaverde anytime soon. The simple fact is, though, there is never an excuse for a guy like King to attempt 59 passes. That is a recipe for disaster. You have Cameron Harris, a guy who played really well against Appalachian State. I understand that it was App State. Totally get it. And yeah, Harris looked bad against Alabama. But you've got to give him the ball more than 11 times. Get him involved more. Charleston Rambo looked really good in the passing game, but other than him, I wasn't overly impressed with anyone on the U. I thought DJ Scaife, their right tackle, was good, but I mean, that's an offensive lineman. Not exactly a sexy position. Look, the U is 1-2. And the one win they had against App State was not an impressive win. They only won by 2. Like, not for nothing, we were almost talking about Appalachian State knocking off another big ranked team. Miami has one more cupcake game. They face Central Connecticut State on Saturday. They should win that game handedly, but there's not much to be optimistic about with the U. I have a friend that's a fan of Miami. He wants major changes, and I can't blame him. This was an incredibly disappointing performance. Moving on now to Alabama, Florida, the game of the week. Everything that you hoped that game would be, you saw on Saturday. Alabama stormed out to a 21-3 lead in the first quarter. So you're thinking this is a romp. Alabama's going to steamroll the Gators. Forget about it. The tide is really going to roll. But then something interesting happened. The Gators really showed up. From the second to fourth quarters, they outscored Alabama 26-10. Make no mistake about it. The Gators were the better team in this game overall. They had more first downs. They had more rushing yards by a mile. They had more total yards. They won the time of possession battle. Florida played well enough to win. They just fell behind in the first quarter and really couldn't dig out of it. It's kind of interesting. The Gators never led in this game. They came close to tying it. Late in the fourth quarter, the touchdown run by Dameon Pierce, if they could have converted that 2-point try, God only knows what would have happened afterwards. But the simple fact is, Alabama is just too good. Bryce Young looks like a Heisman Trophy candidate. He's thrown 10 touchdowns. He's yet to throw an interception. He looks absolutely outstanding. In fact, I'll even go as far as to say that Young looks better than Mac Jones. In my mind, it's not even close. And the thing is, he really didn't have a good O-line helping him out on Saturday. The only offensive lineman that I thought played well was Evan Neal, the left tackle. Young is just really special. It's funny, I went to the Jets game yesterday with my buddy Mark, and he asked me if I thought we'd see Alabama-Florida 2 more times in the SEC title game and in the CFP. I said no. I just don't see a 2-loss team making it. Even a team like Florida. Like, let's say they run the table, and let's say they beat Alabama in the SEC title game. Do you still think the committee would leave Alabama out? They've done this before with conference title winners. In 2017, Georgia beat Auburn in the SEC title game. Alabama wasn't even in the conference championship game. They lost in the Iron Bowl the week prior. So Auburn got in. Who was in the CFP? Clemson, Oklahoma, Georgia, and Alabama. A team like UCF got screwed. Wisconsin got screwed. The CFP is weird. It's just hard to predict what the committee's going to do. I just don't see them doing Alabama-Florida for a third time. It wouldn't surprise me if we saw Alabama-Florida in the SEC title game. That's how great both teams are. It could be Georgia, but it could also be Florida. October 30th, Georgia-Florida. That's going to be a can't-miss game. But no, I just don't see the committee doing that. Moving on now to Auburn, Penn State. A game that I came oh so close to nailing. Make no mistake about it, Auburn had a bunch of chances to win this game. The reason they didn't was the really bad play of Bo Nix. I like Nix a lot, but he was incredibly tentative with the football. Wasn't pushing it downfield, was making a lot of safe throws. Against this Penn State defense, with incredibly talented players like P.J. Mustipher, Arnold Ebiketie, Curtis Jacobs, Jesse Luketa, Brandon Smith, Jaquan Brisker, Ellis Brooks, Joey Porter Jr., Jonathan Sutherland, etc., that's not going to work. Yeah, I feel like I just named the whole Penn State defense, but you know what? They're all great. Penn State has a defense capable of doing very special things. I thought that Nix could slice and dice him. Bigsby did his thing. Tank Bigsby had 23 carries for 102 yards and 2 touchdowns. But Nix was really tentative. I'll tell you why I think that was the case. Against Alabama State, even though Auburn won 62-0, Nix didn't play well. He completed just 9 of his 17 passes for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns. The 2 touchdowns are good, don't get me wrong, but that completion percentage is dreadful, and the passing yards are dreadful. Once you have that type of a performance against a team like Alabama State, that's gonna mess with your confidence. You're not gonna be a gunslinger. The thing is, though, sometimes you need to be. It's like Zach Wilson. You've got to know when to push the envelope and when to take the safe pass. Nix just went in the other direction as Wilson. I'll tell you who really impressed me, though. Sean Clifford. Clifford looked outstanding. He was decisive with the football. He made all the right decisions. He completed 87.5% of his passes. He went 28 for 32 for 280 yards and 2 touchdowns. Yes, he threw an interception, but that was like the one bad throw he made all game. Against an Auburn defensive line that won the battle at the line of scrimmage on basically every play. Guys like Marquise Burks, Colby Wooden, Marcus Harris, and Tony Fair all dominated. That's nothing short of incredible. To have that poise in college is insane. Great win for Penn State. This is a statement win. Don't look now, but they're 3-0 and have beaten 2 top 25 teams. Would you be stunned if they ended up in the CFP? With that defense, I wouldn't be. I'll tell you that right now. October 30th, OSU Penn State. Gonna be must-watch TV. Here's hoping that it's not on at the same time as Georgia, Florida. Moving on now to ASU BYU. A game that was all defense, no offense. Yeah, Jaden Daniels completed over 70% of his passes. He went 21 for 29 for 265 yards, but he threw no touchdowns and 2 interceptions. It's hard for me to get excited about that. It's hard for me to get excited about Jaron Hall's performance when he completed just 15 of his 27 passes for 214 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. It's hard for me to get excited about Tyler Algier, a player I like, when he had 21 carries for 69 yards. That's 3.3 yards per carry. Gunnar Romney showed up for BYU. Give him credit. I like him. But so did Daniel Nada and Rashad White, 2 running backs for ASU. BYU won this game because of their defense. Peyton Wilger was all over the place, making plays. I liked what Max Tooley did, Malik Moore, Pepe Tanuvasa, D'Angelo Mandel. Earl Tuioti Mariner, Chaz Ayu. Those guys were really, really good. They made life very difficult for ASU. The reality is, it was bend, don't break. We're going to let you complete some short passes, maybe one or two big passes here and there, but we're not going to let you get much after that. For the most part, it worked. ASU's defense played well too. Jack Jones, Tyler Johnson, Darian Butler, Kyle Sowell, and Michael Mattis all played really well. But ultimately, BYU's defense was better. This wasn't a very exciting game. You had the entire college football world watching. The Auburn-Penn State game was basically over by the time ASU-BYU started. The game may have still been going on, but it was well into the fourth quarter. This really wasn't an exciting game. I wanted more from these teams. Solid defensive performances, just not great overall performances. Moving on now to Fresno State UCLA. An incredibly exciting game. A back and forth affair. A game that was extremely easy to watch. Fresno State leads through most of the game, then UCLA comes storming back. Then Fresno State takes the lead again, then UCLA takes the lead with less than a minute left. Then Fresno State engineers this big drive late. It was an outstanding performance from both teams. Defensively, it left something to be desired on both ends. No question. But offensively, both teams showed up in a big way. Jake Haener had his best game ever. He completed 39 of his 53 passes for 455 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was getting everyone involved offensively. 9 different players had a catch for the Bulldogs. I thought Haener was outstanding. I thought Ronnie Rivers was outstanding. 21 carries for 136 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jalen Cropper had 14 catches for 141 yards and a touchdown. Josh Kelly had 8 catches for 120 yards. Fresno State was great offensively, but so was UCLA. I like Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I think he's a really talented quarterback. He's great with his arm and he's great with his legs. The completion percentage leaves something to be desired, 14 for 24. That's 62.5%. Not bad by any stretch, but not great. The thing is, though, he threw for 278 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also had 13 carries for 67 yards. He's one of the best dual-threat quarterbacks in the nation. Kyle Phillips had 7 catches for 113 yards and 2 touchdowns. Cam Brown had 5 catches for 111 yards and a touchdown. I mean, this was just a great game. 2 great offenses going at it. Don't look now, but Haener's actually leading the nation in passing yards. He's got some talent, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson is a great dual-threat quarterback. You had a sense that this game would come down to who had the ball last. ultimately, leaving Haener with 54 seconds to go 75 yards down the field against this anemic UCLA pass defense was just too much time. But give Haener credit, because he was outstanding. This is a marquee win for Fresno State, a team that's going to play in a bowl game. And it wouldn't surprise me if they won that bowl game easily. That's how good the Bulldogs are. I'll close this show out with some NHL Valk talk. Specifically, my beloved Islanders signing Zdeno Chara. So the big Czechoslovakian, who I actually share a birthday with, he was born 20 years before me, is now back where he started his NHL career. So I guess better late than never, right? All the Islanders fans, after seeing Chara dominate for the Senators and Bruins, winning a Norris Trophy with the Bruins, winning a Stanley Cup with the Bruins, becoming one of the best defensemen in the NHL for the Senators and keeping that title with the Bruins. Hey, we got him back, right? You can't get on Milbury anymore? No. It would have been really nice to have had him from, like, 02 on. Think about this D-man core for a minute. Zdeno Chara, Kenny Janssen, Adrian Aucoin, Roman Hamrlik, and Yanni Ninnema. I don't want to say that team's winning a Stanley Cup, but that D-man core is insane. It could have been the best in the NHL. All you needed was offense. You had Pekka. You could have had Jason Spezza. Oh, what could have been? Make no mistake about it, the Yashin trade is one of the worst in Islanders history. And even one of the worst in NHL history. But to get Chara back now is great. What have the Islanders needed for a while? A lefty defenseman. After trading Leddy, it opened up that hole on the blue line. I mean, I thought the Islanders would have to swing a trade for a guy like Carson Soucy. I understand that they brought Eric Gustafson in on a PTO, but bringing someone in on a PTO doesn't give me a lot of confidence that they're gonna make the team. Bringing in Chara, you know he's making the team. I mean, now, think about this D-man core. Pelech and Polak, Chara and Mayfield, and Green and Dobson. I wouldn't even be opposed to moving Dobson up so he can play with Chara. Spread out the physical defensemen. If you put Chara with Dobson and Green with Mayfield, you now have two physical D-man pairs to go with one of the best overall D-man pairs in the NHL. You put Chara and Mayfield together, you lose that. Could I see Chara and Mayfield together? Absolutely. And I wouldn't have much of a problem with it. But I feel like I'd prefer Chara and Dobson, and on the third pair, Green and Mayfield. This is an outstanding move by Lamoriello, an excellent job by him. He filled a glaring hole for the Islanders. Is Chara the player that he once was The answer is no. He had a career low in points with 10, a career low in average time on ice. He's not the player that he once was, but he's still good. He had 10 points in 55 games last year. And he's still 6'9". He still has a great slap shot and can knock your lights out. I love this move. I love the story. How great would it be if the Islanders opened up UBS Arena with a Stanley Cup win and Zdeno Chara retires after winning a Stanley Cup with the team that drafted him in the 3rd round in 1996. That's how the Hollywood movie would be written. I'll say that. New York Yankees show comes your way tonight. Regular episodes of the Jacob Valk Show come your way every weekday afternoon. Until next time, I'm Jacob Valk, and always remember, if you disagree with me, you're wrong.